Dixie Homesteader, and this is my first YouTube video for my new YouTube channel, Dixie Homesteader. And today I am dipping pine cones in candle wax to make fire starters. I'm going to show you how I'm doing this right now. This is just a jar I got, an empty jar I got, and melted a candle in it in simmering water. I'm going to pour it into a plastic container. Not all the wax completely melted, but that's okay. Now I'm going to just take a pine cone and dip it in. Not a lot of wax will stick when it's really hot, but as the wax cools down, then more wax will stick to the pine cone, and you can dip them more than once. I'm just going to let the excess drain off and set it on a piece of wax paper. Another thing you can do is put dryer lint in an egg carton, little pieces of dryer lint in each egg compartment of an egg carton, and then pour melted wax on that, and those are excellent fire starters. You just tear off the one little egg compartment. I've done that, and we find that we can start a fire with one match every time. The idea of dipping pine cones isn't new, and we've used those before, and they also work very well. And the reason why I'm making these is my neighbor behind my house has a pine tree, and it drops pine cones into our yard. So I decided I would do something useful with them. And we have a wood burning stove, so I'm dipping this for the second time. It's got a clump of wax there, but that's fine. And so it's fun to have a fire starter. It makes making a fire easier. So you can make these as thick with the wax as you want to. Dip them as many times as you want to. And the other thing that's nice about these is they smell good. So we had, you know, if you have a cinnamon or peppermint or pine flavored candle. I don't burn candles, so I do have candles for emergency. So this is a way that I can use my candle wax and turn it into something useful. And they smell good, and I'm just storing them in this basket, these that I've already dipped. They smell really good, and you can set them by your fire, and they look nice. So this is my first video for YouTube, and I thought I might as well share what I'm doing as I learn new things about homesteading and being self-reliant, and also things that I have learned over the years that I'd like to share with anyone that might be able to learn from my experience. While I'm right here, I'll show you, this, by the way, is January 26th, I believe, and this is a seedling tray that I started a few days ago, and what is coming up here is onions, green onions. I saved the seeds from an onion plant that went to seed last summer, let them dry, and then a week ago I took the seeds out and planted them in this potting soil. It kept it moist, and I've got it here sitting on my counter to give it some light. But I'm pretty excited that my seedlings have germinated, and I will give you updates on the progress of this and other things that I'm doing with seedlings. So this is my laundry room, and here's some other containers of potting soil that I've planted. You can see that I've got some, see, cantaloupe coming up there. And looks like I've got a tomato that's starting to sprout a little bit. So I had this electric mattress warmer, not sure what you call it. It's just a small electric heater that you put on your bed. And so I decided to see if I could get that to help my seeds germinate, and it's working pretty well. It's on high, I believe, but it's not very warm at all. It's not as warm as the commercial ones you buy, which I have one of those too, and I'll show you in a second. So this is my other tray with some seedlings that are coming up. You can see one starting to poke out of the ground there. That's let's see, it's a giant pumpkin seed that I planted in those. These are Rutger tomatoes. And these are cucumbers, and then I've got some cabbage coming up back there. And I've got them under this plant light. But I wanted to show you the heating tray that I've got under this towel somewhere. Or I've got the towel under it. And it's a lot warmer than my electric heating pad on the other side. Then I have a small heating pad that from my first aid kit that heats up nice and warm, that would also work, I believe, to get your soil warmed up so your seeds will sprout. It is January, and we live in we're in a zone 8 or 9, so I may be a little early. Let me just show you the cilantro I've got back here coming up. They're just barely coming up, and we keep this part of our house fairly cool. So it's probably 65 degrees, and I'm just keeping the soil moist. Use the same potting soil. It's just commercial potting soil that I used. And I'm quite happy that I've had some plants germinate and are germinating. And so I'll give you updates as we go along. This is my garden spot, my grow boxes. They do have a dripper water sprinkler thing in them. I've taken compost and chicken manure from my chickens in these 2 grow boxes, getting them ready to plant. I want to plant fairly early, probably in a couple weeks. I'll start planting some early crops. This is a little onion plant that came up probably from seed, I'm not sure. So there are some early things that I can plant, and need some work in those 2 grow boxes back there. This is my desert backyard. So we need to have amended soil to be able to grow anything here, and I'm hoping for a good crop this year. So here's my Pinecone fire starters in the basket by my fire. Smelling good and looking pretty. And it was a little rough for my first video on YouTube, and I was a little nervous, and this is my gas fireplace, so I'll save these for when we start a fire in our wood stove. But this was an introduction to my channel, and I hope that you will find interesting things by visiting my channel in the future.